So if you've seen any of my earlier videos, you've seen me tackling really nasty areas that take a long time. I've got to cut down all these really tall, spindly trees that are being overcrowded with each other, and none of them are going to ever be healthy, mature trees. Today, I'm going to try to save my future self a whole lot of problems, a whole lot of time, and I'm going to tackle an area with pretty much just this. This whole area going up this old logging road, and even down a ways on the other side of the camera, it's all like this. And I can do this with just the lopper. I can thin out this area, leave just a few trees, and then this will be a healthy area in the future. And this will just be a whole lot easier with the lopper than with the chainsaw. There'll be a few trees that I'll have to take down with the chainsaw, but not too many, and they're fairly small. But anyway, this will be a whole lot easier. I just come along and try to space the trees out if I want to keep them. Like if I want to keep this one, I want to give it 15 feet or so of space. So I'll just go through and lop everything that's a little bit too close. And there's all these little guys down in here. But you get the idea. And I'll just work my way up here, lopping trees as I go. You know, keep this one, get rid of that, and then everything around it. So it's not exciting work, but it's a whole lot easier doing this 5 years from now, when the loppers won't be up to the task. I've done this in a few areas already, and I'm really happy with the results. So for a little while, I think this is what I'm going to be focusing on, is just coming along and doing it this way. And then the areas that are already overgrown, I'll tackle those at some other point in time. So I'll turn off the camera, I'll work this, and then turn it back on, and you'll see how it looks. So I've got a fair amount of work done already. We'll take the camera and we'll walk around a bit, and I'll show you exactly what I did and the thought process behind the selection. And it was making me think of a video I'd seen a while back, and it was someone following up to a Mr. Beast video. So Mr. Beast some time ago had decided he was going to help save the planet and plant 1,000 trees in one day. Oh my goodness, fantastic. And he did it somewhere in Oregon, as I recall. And so they plant 1,000 trees in an area, you know, that's basically what you're looking at now, in a pretty small area. It's a ridiculously small area. And this person who made the follow-up video, he figured out where Mr. Beast had done this work, and he went back sometime later to see how it looked. And most of the trees were dead, because God only knows what time of year Mr. Beast did the planting, probably a retarded time. And it just looked stupid. It's just like, wow, you're an idiot. So this land was logged back in 2017, somewhere around in there. So it's been 9 years, 8-9 years since it was logged. And you'll see there are a lot of big mature ponderosas and some large Doug firs. And the timber company leaves behind these mature trees, some of them, in order to naturally reseed. And so that's what you're seeing is natural reseeding from the ponderosas and the Doug firs. So if you ever heard that ponderosas need fire to reproduce, that the pine cones need some heat to break apart, let me tell you that is not true. Fire has not come through here since it was logged. And all these little saplings are just coming up on their own. And they just come up wherever they come up. And so we've got to thin them out. That's what this is all about. And you don't need an idiot like Mr. Beast to save the planet. What you need is good forest management. We don't have that anymore in the states or in the federal government. The environmentalists have had their way, and it's been a disaster. Look at the wildfires. They're horrible, and it's because there's just too much material on the ground, too many trees too close together, etc., etc. There hasn't been good forest management. And I'll talk about that until I'm blue in the face, because as you can see, I'm out here trying to manage my forest as best I can, and that's going to be my retirement plan, just because I love our forests, and someday my kids will get a harvest. I won't get a harvest. I won't live long enough. But anyway, we'll take a walk around and I'll point out a few things. All right, so you can see a lot of little dead trees here. And roughly, I'm trying to space out trees every 15 feet. Nope, not me. So I'm trying to space out the trees roughly every 15 feet. And I can also at this point start selecting out which trees I want to keep and which ones I want to get rid of. So whenever possible, I will always. So the goal is to try to make our entire forest look like this portion of the forest. And this is an area that was harvested probably about 25 years ago. And the timber company came through, I'm going to guess when they were logging the rest of the forest 8 years ago, and they did what's called a non-commercial thinning. And so they did essentially what I've been doing, except on a slightly larger scale, and they leave all the trees behind, whereas we process most of the trees that we do our thinning on, either burning or chipping. But you can see what I mean by 15 feet. When the trees are just really small, seems like a big space, but then once these trees get mature, 15 feet's not very much. That's the minimum distance really that you want. And so that's probably what they did, was they came through with the non-commercial thinning and were, just doing just that, thinning out the forest, getting rid of trees that were too close, crowding out the others. And this is what they left behind as far as spacing goes. And there's a lot of distance between most of these trees. I mean, these two trees right here are some of the two closer trees. Actually you've got kind of 3 trees here. There's a bit of a triangle. And there's probably maybe 15 feet between the two closest to me. and then a little bit more between those two trees and the third tree at the top there. And that looks like a good healthy spacing. Scroll up and you can see that the crowns of the trees aren't really touching. They've got space. So I'm hoping that with just a little bit of management early, I'll save myself a lot of effort and not have to just cut down big trees like this and then either process them or just leave them to rot, because there's a lot of these trees down here, which is fine. It is what it is, and they're just gonna go into the ground. And you know, there's probably more than what the forest practices would recommend, and some of them are pretty big. And then the one thing we'll probably have to do, or definitely should do, is start limbing these trees and get them, you know, 10 feet off the ground. You know, you see all these little limbs that haven't broken off on their own, and so they'll need a little assistance. You know, I can just, you know, come up and do stuff like that. And it really does make a big difference. We've limbed some areas down here just a little bit, and once you start doing that, it really does open up the forest quite a bit. Yeah, that, and then getting rid of a lot of these thin trees right over in here. It's a lot of work. That's what we signed up for. Okay, so now we'll go back to the other part of the video and I'll show you what I did up there. Okay, so I've done quite a bit of work with the loppers and brought down some whole lot of trees, and then I brought out the chainsaw and took down a few trees that were too large for the loppers. And so you can start to see what the carnage left behind with the loppers looks like. So when I'm doing this, what I'm doing is trying to space trees out roughly 15 feet apart so that they've got plenty of space. And this also allows me to select which trees I want to keep. So I can look at some trees when they're small. If they're starting to already be crooked, I'll get rid of those. Sometimes they have a split top real early. I saw a couple that had a split top on them. And then choosing between Doug firs and pondos. And if I ever have a chance or a choice between two healthy trees, one a pondo, one a Doug fir, I'll always choose the Doug fir over the pondo. Couple of reasons for that is, one, I've already got plenty of pondos. They way outnumber the Doug firs. Two, the Doug firs are a better commercial lumber. So when time comes to harvest, you'll get more money for your Doug firs. And also where I'm at, I'm on the edge of where the Doug firs of their range. So they struggle a little bit out here, and so they need a little extra help. They do well. I mean, there's some nice big Doug firs here, some real healthy ones. I need to thin out this area right over here. I need to do that with the chainsaw, but right now those Dougs are looking pretty healthy. And there is a little section over here where I've got a few nice healthy looking Dougs, and I had to cut down one decent sized one just because it was too close, and it was healthy looking. And here's that stump there. But I've got, 4 pretty nice sized Doug firs for right in this little area. And so I kind of cleaned it up a bit, and I think these Dougs will all do really well. And then there's a few more around. And when these trees are really small and you're spacing them 15 feet apart, it looks like a big area, like a big distance between trees. And when they're that small, it sure looks that way. But then, of course, as they get bigger, that 15 feet doesn't seem all that much. And you can see, like these 2 trees here, they're probably about 15 feet apart, and they're going to fill in this space quite well. And just more carnage down in here, just getting rid of all these little bitty trees to give more space. And it's interesting walking around. It's like, hey, how did I miss all these little guys? Bunch of little trees down here that need to get cut, and I walked past them the first time. And show you back in here, this area back over there. Need to still get into there. Still need to work my way up here. And it just keeps going and going. Off in the distance here, there's just more and more of this, and a lot of it I can do with the lopper, and so I'm going to just get back to work again and do that. All right, well, I hope that gives you an idea of what it takes to get a forest a little bit better managed. And when you start listening to all these, and I'm going to use air quotes, environmentalists talking about the forests and the way they just leave them alone and allow all these trees to grow up, and it just creates a huge forest fire danger. It's terrible. It's not easy to manage a forest, and so someone's got to do it. I'm doing my bit, my land. So there you have it. Anyway, see you in the next video, and thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.